Hello everyone, in this video I would like to review the situation that involves the bombing of the Nord Stream pipelines. It happened very recently and it has caused quite a stir in the media, online, and pretty much everywhere else where people are paying attention to this. And specifically in this video, I'd like to respond somewhat to the claims that Russia somehow perpetrated the bombing of their own pipelines, which they benefited from incredibly, and also to the rhetoric that the West or the U.S. And their NATO allies somehow being behind this is somehow conspiracy, when it, on the contrary, is everything. But before I get into my commentary, I'd like to play several clips to kind of back my arguments here. But firstly, what I would like to start off with is Mr. Aaron Mate, who throughout this little ordeal has been, to me, a bit of a voice of reason. So this is him on Tucker Carlson, basically telling what I believe is to be an unheard truth that many Americans aren't going to hear, especially in the vast majority of media outlets, about the situation involving the Nord Stream pipelines and the U.S.'s involvement.
It's pretty amazing when you consider the track record of the people who are telling us that Russia did this. They're the same ones who told us that Russia installed Trump in the White House and blackmailed him with a P-tape, who told us that Russia placed bounties on U.S. troops in Afghanistan, that Russia was injuring U.S. diplomats with supersonic microwave weapons, and that Russia invented the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop. And we're supposed to take now their claims on faith. When, by the way, at the same time, for many years, those who've been opposing the pipeline, including many of those now accusing Russia of blowing it up, have been telling us the reason they're opposed to it is because it gives Russia leverage over Europe by controlling its energy supply. So just think of it logically. Why would Russia blow up its only form of leverage? It does not make any sense. Now, the reason why someone else would want to blow this up from the West, and as you noted, John Kirby, when he was asked by Brett Baer, did not answer the question of whether it could have been a U.S. proxy. He only said that the U.S. was not involved, which to me is very revealing. And the reason why the U.S. and its allies have been so opposed to Nord Stream for a long time is because, as was recognized in a 2019 study by the RAND Corporation, which is a U.S. government-funded think tank, the Nord Stream was very profitable for Russia. And also, if it goes through, bringing gas from Russia to Germany and the rest of Europe, that makes Europe and Germany more intertwined, which in turn makes it a lot harder to wage a proxy war and impose sanctions on Russia. And that's why this RAND study said a first step to weakening Russia would be stopping Nord Stream 2. So the motive is there, and as you've noted, the intent was made very clear in public, but somehow we're supposed to not believe all logic and all facts and just believe once again that Russia is behind something that is so drastically against its own interests.
That's incredible. So he initially points out there that the people that are telling us that it's conspiracy, that the West is behind the bombing of these pipelines, that they've been telling us lies for our entire lives, or the majority of most of our lives, and they now want us to believe on this particular issue that they're somehow correct. And the incentives that Russia has to blow up their own pipelines is basically non-existent. And so he also spoke about the RAND Corporation, basically, which is indeed funded by the U.S. government, the Pentagon. They came out with a study, a 2019 study by the U.S. government, funded RAND Corporation, and they were tasked with identifying optimal means for, and I quote, overextending and unbalancing Russia. Okay, and so according to this report, Russia's greatest vulnerability in any competition with the United States is its economy, which is highly dependent on energy exports. If the U.S. could create supply alternatives to Russian gas, the report explains the main benefit would be lower Russian export revenues. This in turn would stress the federal Russian budget further. And so this would take out the option of cheaper Russian gas for specifically Germany and most of Europe, and they would have to turn towards the United States, where they would be paying more, but of course then they would be getting rid of their dependency on Russia and sticking it to Putin, and the U.S. would be getting everything that they want. So knowing this information, and there's much more information to come, how can one believe, even for a second, that Russia is somehow the perpetrator of these pipelines? But let's continue a bit further. So Secretary of State Antony Blinken I would like to show you his response when asked about this particular situation about these pipelines.
Ultimately, this is also a tremendous opportunity. It's a tremendous opportunity to once and for all remove the dependence on Russian energy, and thus to take away from Vladimir Putin the weaponization of energy as a means of advancing his imperial designs. That's very significant, and that offers tremendous strategic opportunity for the years to come. But meanwhile, we're determined to do everything we possibly can to make sure that the consequences of all of this are not borne by citizens in our countries, or for that matter, around the world.
Wow. That basically just told you everything you needed to know. It's a tremendous opportunity, he says. It takes away from Putin. I love this. Notice the language here. It takes away from Putin his weaponization of energy for his imperial designs. All of this falls deaf on the ears of people that can't really decipher through this nonsense. It truly does. And they think that he's saying something profound and that he's doing this for the benefit of the greater good, when in fact, this guy is a bullshitter. He's a grade A ratified bullshitter. And that's what he was doing in that video. He was bullshitting you. This is a tremendous opportunity because they get to advance their goals, to weaken Russia, to weaken their economy, to stop their growth, to end their relationship with Germany and Europe. And as Mr. Mate pointed out in his interview with Tucker Carlson, this isn't good for Russia because Russia, it gets rid of any leverage that they had remaining with Europe and specifically Germany. Germany and Europe from the beginning were kind of hesitant to join the side of the U.S., and they indeed were. You can go back and look at this, with the sanction program against Russia and their policy towards Ukraine. And the reason for that is because of their purchasing of natural gas from Russia and how much it benefited them. And they didn't want to throw that away due to the imperial means of the U.S. empire. They wanted to keep that relationship intact. And there were peace deals brought forth by Germany that were rejected by Mr. Zelensky, of course, backed by the United States, because they wanted to avoid anything that would put their energy integrity in jeopardy. Needless to say, all of that happened, and they are facing a very, very harsh winter that is literally right around the corner, and quite literally the deindustrialization of those particular states. And this U.S. policy has landed us here. And just to put the icing on the cake here, I have a couple more clips I want to show you, but this is before the invasion. And this right here is what you should show anyone when they come at you with the nonsense of it's conspiracy that the U.S. did this, or did Russia definitely damage their own pipelines. Joe Biden told us back in February, before the invasion took place, he said that if Russia invades, then there will no longer be a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it. Don't take my word for it. Take his.
Let me answer the first question first. If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Well, there you go. And there's also a clip that I thought about throwing in here regarding Mr. Jeffrey Sachs and how he lit up Bloomberg Media, and he threw them in such a disarray for even suggesting that the U.S. was behind the Nord Stream pipeline destruction and the sabotage, as many people have called it. But I think I forced you to watch enough clips in this video. But I would like to wrap this up by saying I am not by no means saying that I know or I have the answers to this attack or who is definitively behind this. I'm just showing you what I believe to be very concrete evidence that suggests one scenario over another. And hopefully this has landed well with you, because in a day and age in which there's so much propaganda and nonsense so persistently and constantly given to us and put in front of us on such a consistent basis, it's very difficult to discern the truth.